Class we learn how to make this beautiful cascade skirt. It's a very beautiful pencil skirt with cascade design and it is easy to make. If this is what you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to make this skirt, we are going to be focusing directly on the cascade effect that is on this skirt, like a peplum. So to make it easy for us, we're going to be analyzing it first, and then we're going to be drafting all this pattern on the skirt block. So I have my front block, basic skirt block. Is a pencil skirt. You can see that it's tapered toward the M line. I have it drafted already, my front and back, but I'll be using my front for the patterns. So now let's analyze this style. Okay, so this peplum is like 1, 2 and 3 folded in one. Okay, so it has like 3 parts. The first one, which is here, the shortest, this is the second one here, and the long one is the third one. Okay, so now is going to go from the front. The same pattern that we have in front here is what we're going to be having at the back also. So we're going to be cutting it on fold and everything. I'll be showing us every step of the way. And then we have one with the pleat. The shortest one, which is the front one, has like a pleat in front. We will be creating using slash and spread method. Okay, so I'll be taking us through all these steps one after the other. It is quite simple. You just need to pay attention to it, and I'm sure you're going to get it. Okay, so the first one we'll be creating is the shortest one, which is the one on the upper part, which is the first one. So it comes like this, slanted like this, and then it goes all the way to the side of the skirt, and then it goes upward again like that. Okay, so to create this, it has you can see that the one that comes to the center front here is longer than the one that goes on the short part. So now we'll be replicating this on our pattern. And to do this, the first thing I'm going to be doing is to measure how long I want it to be on my center front. So for that, I'm going to be measuring, I think 8 inches is fine for me. So from the upper part here, I'll be going downwards by 8 inches, and then you can see that it is not straight, it's a bit slanted. As you can see, it's slanted like this. So to create that slant on my center front area, sorry, this paper is folding. To create that slant on my center front area, I'm going to be, where my 8 inches stops, I'm going to be going inwards by ½ inch or 0.75. okay, I think 0.75 is fine. That's 3/4. So I'll be going inwards by 3/4 inch. Then I'm going to be connecting from that point all the way to my center front on the upper part here in a slanting form. Okay, so I'm connecting it from there to that space like that. Okay, so now remember, this goes to the side front, and like I was explaining when we were analyzing it, the side is shorter than the one that comes to the center front. So on the side front here now, I'm going to be measuring like 5 or 6 inches. Okay, so let me just do 5½ inches, which is here, and then I'm going to be using my ruler to slant it to meet this like this. Okay, so this is the first part of my cascade, and I'm going to label that number 1. So now we're going to be moving to the second part. Okay, but for us to cut the second part, we need the third part so that we can use it to connect it. So instead of that, now I'm going to cut the long one first. You see why we're cutting the long one, which is this. So now to cut the long one, I'm going to be measuring 2 inches from my dart leg like this. Okay, I'll measure 2 inches. So I can use another color of marker, which is black. I'm measuring 2 inches here, and then from the second dart leg, I can measure 2 inches also, or 1½ inches. Okay, so if I'm measuring 1½ inches, I have it like that. So here, from my starting point here, I'm going to be going downwards by 10 inches from this upper part here. Okay, so I have 10 inches here, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect it from this 10 inches to this upper space. It's quite simple, just follow it. You can practice as many times as you want before you connect it. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to kind of form like an angle 90 and square it downwards like this. Okay, So I'm squaring it by 5 inches. I'm just going to measure that 5 inches, but to make this easier for us, and if we want to put a number to it, so from the upper part here I can just come down by 13 inches. Okay, then after coming down by 13 inches from there, I'm going to be squaring it to have like 5 inches. So I have 5 inches there, and then I'm going to connect it like this. I hope you understand that I measured 5 inches from here, and then from here I measured 13 inches. You don't really need to measure this, you can just square it, but some people may want to put a number to it. That was why I just measured what I have there. So from here now, I'm just going to connect it to this upper part like that in a slanting form, and this is going to be my third. Okay, remember I said we need this second, we need the first and third to create the second one. That was why I just moved to the third one. Now to create our second peplum, we don't need too much, so I'm using this green marker. We just need to connect from this point to this point, and that is it. Okay, so now I'm going to be marking from here to here, and this is going to be my second. Okay, my second mark. So to transfer it, I'll be transferring it one after the other. I hope you don't get confused with it. Just watch this video over and over, and I'm sure you're going to get it. So now to transfer this, now I'll bring in a fresh paper, and then I'll be transferring it one after the other. Okay, so I have a fresh paper now, and I'll be cutting the first flounce, the first cascade. So to know the lines that I'll be cutting on, I'm just going to be noting that point so that we can separate it. Okay, so I'm marking X round the line of my first cascade so that it can be different from the other lines we have, and I'm using the same red marker so we can see. So the first one is going to go like what we have here. Let me just hold it with. Okay, so the first one is going to come like this, and then I'm going to be replicating it on the paper. But remember that I said that you're going to be cutting it from front. The cascade is going to come from the front center front all the way to the back center front. There's not going to be any joining, which means this part here I need to cut it on fold. Okay, so I'm just going to be placing it like this, and then using my tracing wheel, I'm going to be tracing this on this new paper. Okay, so I'm tracing it, and I can see it. I hope you can see it. I can see that line that I have there, and then I'm just following the line now, and then I'm tracing. Okay, so I've traced it now, and then I'll remove my paper. So once I trace it, you will see the perforated lines there, and then using my chalk, using my my pen, I'm going to be connecting that line back. So I have it like that, and this part here is the side of my skirt. So I'm going to be cutting this on fold, and I'm noting that. Okay, so after cutting the first one, now we'll move to the second one, and the second one is going to come sorry, the second one is going to come like this from this point. So I'm going to be marking the X. Okay, so it's going to come from this line, okay, the first line, all the way to this second line, and then the third line. So the second one is connected to the first one by the center front line, which is this, and then it is connected to the third one with this. That's why we needed to draft the first and third before we could get our second. So now I'm going to be connecting it. Remember, it is connected on this line with the first one, which is this line that we have here. Okay, so now to note this, now I'm just going to place it in a way that it matches this first line like this. So you can fold it in to get that point if you can't, but I can see it. So I folded this in now, and then the point will just match immediately, automatically. You can see it that it matches. So now using my masking tape, my tracing wheel also, I'm going to be tracing this out. So the second line goes like this. Like I said, it's not difficult, you just need to pay attention to it. So okay, so we have our second line like that. I'm going to remove this. We are still going to transfer our darts, but I just want to be taking it one after the other so that we don't get overwhelmed. And then I'm going to be using this green marker to do the connection. Okay, so it comes like this, and then it goes up, and then it comes back. Okay, so this is number 2, this is number 1. So now the last thing now is to trace out our last marking, and the last marking, which is the longest one, is what we have in black. So we can see our black marker. It is connected to the second one by this line, which is this. Okay, the first one is connected to the second one by this line. Okay, and the second one is connected to the third one by this line, this long line here, which is this. So now to replicate it, to continue our cascade, I'm going to be placing it in a way that this line matches this line. So I'm going to be folding it over. I can see it, I hope you can see it. This is the black line. It comes like this, then it goes like this, and then it goes back like this. So it's quite visible for me. Let me just sketch it like that so that we can see. So now I'm going to be placing it. You can fold it if you can't see it well. Then after folding it, you place it here. You can see that it have to match perfectly. You can see how it's matching each other. And then I'm going to bring in my tracing wheel, and then I'm going to trace what I have there. Okay, okay, so that is traced now. And then using my black marker, I'm going to, you can see that we have all our cascades together now. Okay, so I'm going to connect it upwards, and then like this, and this is my third line. So everything is together now. The next thing now is to transfer the darts that I have here. Okay, I didn't want to transfer the darts immediately because I don't want this to be too overwhelming. No, so now that we have this, I'm just going to be placing it just the way I traced it out, and then I'm going to trace out my darts and then note it. So using my tracing wheel, I'm tracing for the first one, which was like this. Then I'm bringing my tracing wheel now and trace out my darts. And then for the second one, it was like this. Okay, you can see. So here now I'm going to be tracing my dart also. This dart is actually very important because we're going to use it to introduce more volume to this peplum. Okay, so that's the second one. And then for the third one, which is like this from here to here, you can see I'm going to be tracing out my dart also. Okay, so all my darts now are traced, and then I'm going to use my marker to draw them out so that we can see them. Okay, so this is the first one. Then move over to the green, which is the second line, and then move over to the black, which is the last line. Okay, so we have our darts. So before I go now, I want to extend this dart to the hemline. So the first one, I'm extending it. The second one, I'm also extending it to the hemline. Remember I said I want to use it to introduce more volume. So we're going to be using slash and spread method. And the last one also, I'm extending it like that. So I'm going to be cutting out this shape that we have here so that I can do my slash and spread on another pattern. Okay, so I'm cutting this out. So to create this volume now, I'm going to be slashing it from the hemline here, and then I'm going to slash it up completely. Then I'm just going to be closing the dart. You can see that these are the dartlets. I'm just going to close it like this. Okay, so the dart is closed. Then I'll take my masking tape and then I'm going to use it to hold it together. Okay, so you can do this. You can place a fresh paper underneath it while spreading it, but I'm just going to maybe cover it with another paper underneath and use my sellotape to hold it. So I can just place another paper underneath it and use sellotape to hold it instead of cutting on a new paper. So what I've done here, I'm doing it on my second cascade also. I'm cutting it off completely, then I'll close my dart. So what I'm doing now is I'm closing the dart on the upper part, yes, but I'm also introducing more volume on my hemline using my dart. Okay, so now we are done with this. So the last one we're going to be doing is the first cascade, and like we explained, if you check the picture very well, you'll notice that there is a so we can see a pleat at the first cascade here. So now to introduce this pleat that we see here, we're going to be using slash and spread method. So I'm going to be slashing this dart leg just like we've been doing for the other ones, but the only difference is that we are not just going to be closing the dart here, we are going to be spreading it now. So I'm going to place a fresh paper under it like this, then I'll hold it with this tape, and then the second one now I'm going to be spreading it, introducing more volume using my slash and spread method. So I can spread it by maybe, what do I have here, by maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches, depending on how much pleat that you want. So I think I'm spreading this by 2 inches, and this dart is also included, so it's almost 3 inches on the upper part here. So now I'm going to be closing this, and then I'll bring my ruler now and then match up this line that I have. Okay, so the pleat is going to come from here all the way to, remember this dart here is also included, all the way to this place, so it's quite wide and it's going to show my pleat very well. So on the hem line also I'm going to be closing this, and then we are done with our manipulation. So the next thing now is to cut this on our fabric. So I'm just going to use paper to hold this down so that it doesn't rip apart. So what I'm saying is I'm going to be placing a paper under here, and then using my sellotape I'm going to hold it. Okay, so this is what we have now. This is what it's looking like. I've used the paper to hold it so that it's not too shaky. So now I'm going to be folding it on the pattern, and I'll show us how we're going to be folding it. So this is the main pattern, but it's looking rough. That was why I redrew all the lines that we have on this other side, and we'll be folding it on the other side. So this is the first one, this is the second one, and this here is the third one. Okay, so this line here is the third one. You know how we folded it. So now to fold it, remember I said this part is going to be on fold, this part here is going to be on fold, which means we're going to be using it. So after cutting this, if you put it on fold, the other one is just going to continue all the way to the back to reach the center back also. So now to fold it, I'm going to be folding this, remember this is the first box. I'm going to be folding it on this line here, on the line where the first and second meet, this red line. I'm going to be folding it like this, in such a way that the first one is going to be on top of the second one, and the second one is going to be on top of the third one. So the third one, we're going to be folding it on this green line. That is where the second and third meet. So now I'm going to be folding it like this, second on third, and then on here is going to be on top of the second one also. So I have 1, 2 and 3. So now to place it on our pattern, I'm just going to close it. That, remember we closed all the darts on our pattern also, so that it can fit. I'm going to close the dart on the skirt pattern also, and then I'm just going to place it on it. So here, remember with this slash and spread here, so which means we're going to be pleating this like this. Then after pleating it also, I can hold that pleat with a masking tape like this. So after holding it, we're going to be sewing this to our skirt, and this is what it's going to look like. You can see that this is slanted towards this area. So for our first one, which is going from here, here and here, you can see it. You can see that it fits perfectly. Okay, so this is the other one that is on fold. So for the second one that comes like this, you can see it. So the second one, you can see how it's going. You can see the green marker. Let me just fold this in a bit. I don't know if I can fold this in so that we'll see it. Okay, good. So we can see how the green marker is going, and then it comes back here like that. And then for the last one, which is the longest part, you can see that it comes like this, and then all the way to the hem line. So it is looking bigger here. You can see that this first one stops here, while this one is extended because of the slash and spread that we did here. You can see the opening we have here. So you can see how simple it is to make this. Now I'm going to be cutting this on my fabric, and then we're going to sew it, and you will see how it looks like on the mannequin. Okay, so now I've closed my, I've gone ahead to cut my skirt. So you can see the extension you have here is the zipper allowance for the back, and this is the front. So here I closed my dart before cutting it because I don't want any dart line to be showing on this skirt, and I'm using a scuba fabric which is quite stretchy. So here, this is my zipper allowance, this is my seam allowance. So I'm going to be sewing it on this 1-inch seam allowance. As you can see, all the patterns that we drew also, it did not go beyond this seam allowance. So now I'll take it now, and I'm going to sew it on my seam allowance. Then I'll bring it back so that we can place our pattern on it. And then also I've cut our pattern, and like I said, this part will have to be on fold. So you can see that it is on fold, and to cut the two sides together, I have to put it to on fold by 2. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So one here is going to be for one side, and the other is going to be for the other side. You're going to see everything out. And because this is a scuba fabric, I used a picking shear scissors to cut the hem line. Okay, so it's also called a zigzag scissors, so that it can give it some design for me. So now I'll take it to the sewing machine now and join the skirt together by the sides. Then I'm going to bring it back to show us. Okay, so now I've gone to sew it together. As you can see, I sew it by the 1-inch allowance on both sides, both front and back. So this is my skirt, this is the front and back. So I've gone ahead to add one of the cascade. Now I'm going to be adding the second one in our present. Okay, so this is the pattern, this is the center front of my skirt, and this is the pattern. Like I said, it has to be on fold. So this is the fold point. When you open it, this is going to be for the front, and this is going to be for the back, and this is the notch right there. So it means the notch is on the side, which you're going to be matching to this. So we are opening our pattern like this. Now the next thing is for us to fold this. Okay, so we're going to be folding this together. Okay, so now the next thing is for you to transfer your important points. Okay, you can bring in your pattern, and I've noted it. So here, the point that is important is the fold point, which is this and this. We're going to be folding number 2 on number 3, and then number 2 on number 1 will be on the upper part. So those fold points is important, which is this and this, which I have noted with green. And another point that is important is your pleat. That place where you're going to be pleating it is also important, so you have to note that point also. So I've gone ahead to note these points. As you can see, this is the first one, this is the second one. Those are the fold points I noted with green, and then the dart point, which is this and this, I noted with red. So the next thing is to fold it. So the way you're going to fold it, so now you're going to be placing, this is the number 3, which is the smallest part, is going to be under, and then number 2 will be on top of it. So since I have my points now, I know this is under, I'm folding it, and then the next fold is here, and I'm also folding it like that. So you can hold those folds with pins. Okay, So I folded it now, and I'm holding them together with my pins, so you can see the points. So after folding and holding it like that, this is what I have. So this is number 3, which is the longest part, and this is number 2 on top of it, and this is number 1. So we have 1, 2 and 3. So the last folding is for our dart. So you can see the darts from here to here. So from this point to this point, I'm just going to fold this over like this, and then I'm going to hold my dart. So I'll remove this pin now and then pin everything together. So that is how you fold it. You can use your pattern as guide if you are confused. Okay, so this is what we have on our pattern, and you can see that we have replicated that here. So this is what we have here too. So now I'm going to be pinning it away from my zipper allowance, and then I'll pin it like this. You can see that it fits perfectly. So after folding it, I'm going to go over to this side also and fold the one for this side. Okay, so now I folded the second part also, and as you can see, the long one is under the, that's 1, 2 and 3 like that. So you can see. So now I'll take it to the sewing machine now and sew the same way I sew for this one, and then you can fix your band if you want. You can use either the Ankara or your plain fabric to fix your own. Sorry, I forgot to tell us that I changed it to Ankara because I felt it was looking better than this scuba that I wanted to use. My peplum scuba, I just had 1 yard of this scuba, and it consumed, the cascade consumed the whole 1 yard. So I have this leftover scuba that I intend to use before, but it was not looking nice too. That's why I decided to place it on this Ankara fabric. So now I'll go and sew it, then I'm going to close it on the back, then fix your zipper, then we'll see you on the mannequin when I'm going to show you what this is looking like. Guys, I fixed my Ankara band to it. This is like a 2 inches band, and you can see the cascade effect that we have. So we have our first one on the second one, and the second one on the third one, and it is quite beautiful and very easy to make. You just need to follow the patterns well, and like I said, there is no joining. It just continues to the side like that and all the way to the back. Okay, just the same pattern, and then it goes back all the way to the front. It's very simple to make, as we have seen, and it is beginner friendly. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you enjoyed this, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.